Welcome to Gather for Wellness Radio. I'm your host, Becky Litwicki, and it's Wellness Wednesday, which means we get to connect with another kindred spirit to expand our health and happiness and move one step closer to discovering our own magic formula for optimal wellness. This week's interview is with Sandy Dixon. Like many of us, Sandy has had an interesting journey to get to where she is today. Although she didn't always admit to it, her journey of expanding her personal practice and helping others has been going on for more than 20 years. She is the proud mom of 3 boys and a radiant beam of light. After years of stretching and sitting in silence, she realized she needed a teacher. So she sought the help of experts in the health and wellness industry to help guide her deeper down her path of self-discovery. She had such a passion for what she was learning that she wanted to share it with others. So she became certified in yoga, trained to be a Reiki master, started a podcast, and committed to helping others through classes and workshops. All of these pieces make up the tapestry of her life. And today, she's here to share some golden nuggets of wisdom that she's learned over her years of practice. Here's a sneak peek.
Life has this gorgeous way of always circling back around and saying, all right, honey, you went this far, and this is what happened. What do you want to do now? Mm-hmm. And maybe while I was in that detour of that moment, I picked up the most valuable piece of information that I never would have if I was following these other signs here. Yeah. So no mistakes. There just aren't any mistakes. I can always hear people telling, like thinking out loud, going, Sandy, of course there are mistakes. Of course there are. You can end up in jail. You can lose your job. You can lose your spouse. Are those really mistakes? Or is it just us framing it? We use our words so interestingly, and they're powerful. If you want to put a stigma on saying a mistake and how that triggers you into something, you will continue down that line of thinking for a long, long time until you open up and say, everything's an opportunity. Every misstep or good step or bad step or however you want to define it, it's just this opportunity to learn more about yourself, look around, try again.
Sandy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Becky. I'm excited to do this with you.
I'm so excited too. I am so pumped for this. Sandy and I are going to go real deep today. But first, we're going to let her start by telling us a little bit more about who she is and why she's so perfect for being here with us today.
Wow, that's such a great thing to hear someone say that I'm perfect for being here. Thanks, Becky. Okay, you asked me about how I got to this very place. And, for all of us, we have this story that runs so deep. But this is where it started for me. I've been doing yoga for 20 plus years. I started somewhere in my teens just understanding that there was this thing called yoga, dropped it completely, thought it didn't fit who I was. When I was in college, I went to college in Hawaii and got involved with teaching myself meditation, but wouldn't call it meditation to anybody. And I would be reading these books in the darkest, deepest parts of the library. They were old and musty, and I was thinking I was coming across all these great big secrets of the world of how to get connected with myself. And as most kids do in their 20s, figure out who the heck I am. I had no idea. And I was studying Japanese at the time and international business that turned to international studies. And all of this resonated with me at some level, although I didn't have a group of people that I did it with or talked about it with. And then I kept going into my 20s, coming back home, never saying a word about it, got married, never said anything to my husband, but he knew that I was doing yoga. I would just say, I'm going to go stretch. And life happened. I had my kids and they're growing up, and I would just escape to some corner of the house to either sit in silence or stretch, quote unquote, stretch. And it wasn't until one day in meditation, without even me knowing it, I didn't know where meditation was taking me. I didn't realize that there was some deepness I was going to. It was just sanity for me, of especially raising 3 boys and staying home or juggling part-time things here and there. suddenly in meditation, it came to me that, like a lightning bolt, I need a teacher. And I snapped my eyes open and went, okay, I've been teaching myself all this time. Who do I go to?
Yeah.
Where the heck is there a studio? As if studios didn't exist until I was looking for them. I had no idea studios were everywhere. So I was living in Geneva at the time and went to my first studio, met some fantastic teachers that I'm still friends with today. And they were amazing at leading me to that next cookie trail, that cookie crumb trail of, there's so much more, Sandy. There's so much more to learn. And that got me into the idea of, well, if I know this and I'm excited about this, why can't I share it with others? So I got my certification, and that led to the next type of certification or next workshop or next piece of self-study. Yeah. All to the beautiful package of where I am right now, that I just love what I do. I love where I am in this journey of mine, and the more people I can keep incorporating in on it so that we can support each other, that's what I do. Yeah. So I don't know if that gives you well. Thank you. I don't know if that gives you like the big deep part, but I love reflecting on it. It makes me smile every time I think of, none of this made sense when I was in there, when I was in the process, and now I look back 20 plus years later and go, of course that all made sense. This is all part of the tapestry. It's all the bigger picture.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. We're going to start out with the questions we normally end with Sandy, so that we can kind of go a little bit deeper throughout. But let's start with, what would you do if you only had 5 minutes to create better wellness for yourself?
Okay. 5 minutes to create better wellness. I don't know if you're going to like this answer, but
I love them all.
Yeah? Smile.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because although I would say that couples in with meditating and breathing and everything, it all starts with allowing that smile to come forth. My inner happiness is what I have to reconnect with. It's not something I create. It's already there. So how do I reconnect first and foremost? Smile, and smile with my eyes. And if I can do that, maybe not for the full 5 minutes, but that's the start.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Then everything starts to open up. Everything becomes lighter. Then I start to breathe deeper, smoother. There's the meditation piece kicks in easier. The wanting to get to the mat and even just put my legs up on the wall for 2 minutes. That all comes into play after connecting. That's a good point. And I feel like there's so many times, I think especially like maybe if I'm in a fight with my husband and I'll be like, all right, it's time for this to be done. But there's like part of me that still wants to be right, or that still wants to be mad. And it's like the second I like give in to just like feeling good or like forgiving or, something like that, everything just kind of melts away. And I realize like maybe the conversation was silly or, things like that. But yeah, you're right. Like just allowing yourself to shine that happiness is huge. Shine the happiness.
Yeah.
And it's not fake. It's not about faking it until you make it.
Right.
It really is there. So even in my most sad times, the things where life just threw me a doozy and I didn't think I'd be making it out of it as cleanly or as I wanted to.
Right.
I could still smile at something.
Yeah.
There's a bird outside, or the way the clouds were positioned, something that just lightened that mode, cleared the lens for me just a tad to be able to connect to that innate happiness and remind me that I'm going to get back to it.
Yeah.
I may not be able to stay there right now, but I definitely can find my way back.
Perfect. What is your favorite health habit?
Okay, favorite health habit. It's not about what I eat. It's about loving. To really be healthy and to make it a habit is to love myself despite anything and everything that comes. So I could be, I'll give you the example, I'm about to go on vacation and I know I'm not going to have the perfect food available to me for my diet. But if I can come from a loving place, my health habit of starting there will smooth out those areas that aren't my ideal.
Yeah. That's interesting. Part of the reason I love being at Shine must be because everybody's favorite health habit there is love.
Is it? Is that what they said
the
too?
Same thing, yeah.
Oh my gosh, Megan, I didn't take that from you. I gather it. It's like, yeah, you're right. On the people that you're with. And I think, gosh, I can name 5 other people at Shine that you're right, that we all feel the same way. And we start sharing that with others. And when I can bring that habit into looking at something they're doing as well, it's just one more habit reminder to me of loving myself first.
Right.
If I can love that person for doing whatever thing that is annoying me, why can't I love myself for
right.
my bad habits or whatever comes about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Other than time or money, what do you want more of?
I want more time. No, I can't say that, right? More time. More moments with laughter. More moments connecting with laughter. I think about spending time with my family, particularly my boys and my husband, and my really good friends. If we're not laughing, I'm questioning why we're not.
Yeah.
What's really happening that we can't even find a few minutes of that connection to change the energy by putting in true gut-filled laughter. And I know some people would probably criticize me for giggling at the silliest things, and it's not meant to be disrespectful of a conversation.
Sure.
It usually is to switch that energy up.
Yeah.
And so I would love more of those moments, to connect with people that way and allow them to feel that energy shift and for me to feel it.
Yeah.
And we blossom from there together.
Yeah. I love your perspective of that because I feel like I laugh at so many things, especially like I'll say something that's like driving me crazy about maybe myself, and then I'll kind of giggle and my husband will be like, why are you laughing? I always just assumed it was like maybe because I was uncomfortable, but like I don't feel like it is that. So maybe it's just me shifting.
It is.
Like, increasing the vibrations a little bit.
We all know people that laugh out of nervousness, right?
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable, an
Right.
energy shift that's really uncomfortable. But when it truly comes from their whole face lights up, their whole body demeanor just is in that laugh, even if it's a slight little giggle,
Yeah.
you can't help. I know I can't help but be attracted to that person and want to spend more time with them because they light up the room. That's what I'd want more of.
More moments of laughter. So you have, as one of the many things you do, you create the Shine podcast. And in one of your podcasts, you talked about you were getting ready for vacation and you were kind of stressing out that you weren't going to be able to prepare the boys and everything for while you were gone. And you kind of broke it down and kind of uncovered all of these layers to figure out why you were feeling
The need to control.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit more about that, like how to get to the core of why we really do the things that we do?
Protection, first and foremost, is to protect what we're fearful of. And if everybody has their story, and I think that's where it really starts from, is to understand your story first and foremost. Our story is just this garment that we put on, and we can keep changing it. We can change it multiple times a day. And that's the thing I try to help people understand, particularly my students, is why do we want to be stuck in that story? And when they start uncovering it, the first answer usually is, because I'm scared.
Right.
Now, the fear can be of the unknown. The fear can be of, well, I do know what's going to happen, and I don't like that either.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you really don't know what's going to happen. You cannot control everybody's responses to anything, even if you have played it over 1,000 times, which I used to be the expert at.
Queen.
Oh my, I would spend my whole evening and into my sleep time trying to think of how to plan things out, or what that person's going to do if I sidestep this way, if I take this action. And all of these are protective mechanisms to stay with what we know, with what is familiar. And the minute that we can let that attachment go, it'll feel scary as hell, and you don't want to take that step further, which that podcast, if I'm remembering, was all about stepping over the edge of the cliff.
Yep.
And taking that next step into the unknown and realizing you're not going to plummet to your death. The world is not going to end. And we all know this.
But it can feel so much like that sometimes.
Yes, you're like, no way, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go out there and risk myself to either look like a fool or totally fail, or worse, that nothing happens. That I detached from my story and I get nothing in return.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, when you start uncovering that piece of wanting to be recognized, it's something I'm still working on in my storyline of what I didn't realize I was so attached to. Yeah, that's big. That's big. And then you suddenly go, all right, so I want to be recognized by people. And I've been doing X, Y, Z to get myself noticed, or at least so that I can recognize myself. For instance, I'm going to make sure the house is in order this way, like you talked about me going on vacation. So if I'm leaving and I'm leaving the boys with my husband, I better have all this lined up so when I come back, it's going to look like this, and it's going to make me feel comfortable when I'm away, that I don't have to keep checking in, but I still will keep checking in. Why? If I keep asking myself the why to that question, and why is that, and why is that, I start to uncover the fact that, what if I'm forgotten? What if they don't need me? What if it turns out that I've raised really great kids, which I have. Boys, if you listen, you are awesome. And if they suddenly are showing all this and I'm not that important, then what? Well, once I hook into that trigger and I can sense it in my body, I can really tune into that body scan of, ooh, that one made my heart race, or that one got caught in my throat, or my stomach just did a major flip at that moment, then I'm onto something.
Yeah.
Then I can use the tools in my toolbox of understanding, do I want to hang on to this story? What would happen if I got rid of this? And so what if I wasn't that needed anymore in that capacity? Does that mean I don't exist as Sandy Dixon, wife, mother, teacher? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And I can put a new garment on if I choose, a new role. I can sit without any roles for a while. When I meditate, that's what I do, is to take all those off and just sit in that vulnerable place of, I just am. I am. Not I am this or that. Just I am. And then make that next step, because it always comes. And this is the part of my journey that I'm so excited about now, is understanding to my core of how supported I am in this life. I don't want to get so esoteric for everyone here, but I just know it. It is in my bones of understanding. It's not necessarily a physical person. It's this energetic support system that I'm nestled into. And when I gave that meditation on that podcast about stepping over the edge, it's tapping into that energetic support of, you're always held.
Yeah.
You're always held. Even when you feel you just fell on your face and you say, where the heck was that support? It was there, and they're standing right next to you saying, now you ready to get up?
Yeah.
You ready to try it a different way? We're here. Let's go for it. When you're stuck with the ideas, when I'm stuck creative-wise, and I'm running myself ragged, I fall back into that meditative state of understanding and trusting the fact I'm here, supported 100%. The ideas will come exactly when they need to come. And it frees me up from that egoistic, analytical thinking and helps me take that next step.
So are you a planner? Are you a goal setter do you strategize your future? Or do you just kind of let things
do you,
flow?
Becky?
I used to. I used to be really, and then things started changing so fast that I didn't know how to set goals. That I would set a goal, and then before I would have a chance to accomplish the goal, I would have come up with new ideas that would take me in a different, what I perceived to be better place than what that original goal was. So it wasn't that I wasn't accomplishing the goals. It was that I didn't really feel like I needed those goals that I set in the first place.
It was a safety line for you again.
Yeah.
You had this safety line, and you can never dream as big as the universe has gifts ready for you.
Right.
Now, I know as soon as I say that, there are certain listeners that will just say, oh man, that's that standard line again at the universe. Well, whatever you want to call it, we as humans only use so much percentage of our brain.
Yeah.
So we can never ever tap into the grandeur that is truly, truly available to us. But does that mean that we don't do any planning? Me personally, I know my life's purpose. And if I can continue asking myself on a regular basis, is this leading me closer towards my life purpose or further away from it?
Sure. Then
all the minutia planning, that falls into place.
Yeah.
So, again, I have another vacation coming up, so here I am, but this one's with the family. I've got 5 bodies that I'm trying to manipulate and organize.
Yeah.
And I can make to-do lists like nobody's business. This is really, really up my alley. Or I can then step back and trust that fact of, let's go back to that life purpose again. And it's unique for everybody, but, it's still going to boil down to love. It's really, it can be worded in really crafty ways and such, but it's love. So am I moving closer towards love or further away from love? When I'm controlling, that's misguided love. That's almost like torturing myself as well as the family members. So instead, I try to sit back, absorb that, trust the fact that something bigger is holding me there. And then suddenly I wake up and go, oh yeah, I'm supposed to go do this right now. And I get it done. And then the next thing is on my list without having a list. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just there. So that's like a everyday type of thing. But when you're talking about life planning or life goals, I don't do that anymore. When I was in my 20s, I wrote them out and gave age deadlines. I will learn how to fly a plane by age 39. I will have a family by age, I don't know what I put on there. I think it was 25. But I think those have a place, and they are pretty fun on some level to look that we can accomplish anything we set our minds to.
Right.
How awesome is that? Talk about the power of what we have in this mind that we haven't even tapped into. We can do a lot with planning and goal setting. But when you let go of the attachment to any of those things, as you stated, so much more comes about.
Yeah.
And the direction may shift radically or not. It could be really subtle, but it will still bring you far more a far richer place than where you thought you were going to be.
Right. So what do you do? Because I feel like whether we're on the wrong path or on the right path, there are a lot of signs. Just like if we're taking care of our body, then there are signs that the body is doing well. And if we're not, then the body will give us signs that it needs support or, change. But like, when do you feel like it's appropriate to listen to those signs? And when do you feel like it's better to kind of tune them out? Or
we're always listening to
signs.
signs. We're always. There's signs everywhere. Even as you and I are talking here, there are things going on in our peripheral, whether we're picking up consciously or unconsciously on them, that are guiding us either into our next question or how I'm going to answer something or how long this interview is going to last. Everything is happening. And you can make your whole life on being really persnickety about, did I catch that one? Did I do it right? Oh my gosh, what if I got it wrong?
Yeah.
I could have opened up that sliding door and the whole world would have changed. My boys love talking about the butterfly effect. And yeah, it's awesome to think about how things can change in a blink of an eye if you chose a different sign. But what I keep reminding them, and what I love about your question, is tell everyone it doesn't matter. Whatever you choose, be fully present with your choice. If a doctor told you, no, let's not even go with a doctor. Let's just talk about, you picked up food for your lunch, you consumed it, and you got a rash right after. Okay, that's like a big sign. Something happened there. What was it? You don't know that it was the food. Was it your emotion while you're eating it? Was it old triggers of memories of what that food represented to you? There's so many variables in there. So now if we start going down the rabbit hole of, well, I now have to cut out cashews the rest of my life, and oh, there are raisins in there too, and oh, there's ginger in there. Those are good places to start, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just remember, you don't have to get stuck in following what you think is then the next sign and the next sign and the next sign when you're doing it already. Ease off, back off on it. That's what my attempt in life is of, and believe me, I've been through the whole gamut. My health issues have taken me to be really staunch on certain things, but I always try to come in with that perspective of, I'm doing this for a short period of time to see what happens, like a little experiment. And the next sign will tell me what to do. Not that there weren't signs along the way, but when I'm ready to really tune in, it'll tell me. I don't believe in the sense that if a window closes, there won't be another one open. Like you've missed your opportunity.
Yeah.
Wherever you are and whatever you've chosen to do, whoever you've chosen to be with, whatever you've chosen to say, will then open the next door to what's going to happen next. And you just have to be aware enough, present enough in your body to tune in and say, I know why I chose that one.
Yeah.
And if you don't, if I go through my life being very not present, I'm very checked out to what's happening, choices are still being made and still being offered to me for the next moment. I didn't make a mistake. Life has this gorgeous way of always circling back around and saying, all right, honey, you went this far, and this is what happened. What do you want to do now? And maybe while I was in that detour of that moment, I picked up the most valuable piece of information that I never would have if I was following these other signs here.
Yeah.
So no mistakes. There just aren't any mistakes. I can always hear people telling, like thinking out loud, going, Sandy, of course there are mistakes. Of course there are. You can end up in jail. You can lose your job. You can lose your spouse. Are those really mistakes? Or is just us framing it? We use our words so interestingly, and they're powerful. If you want to put a stigma on saying a mistake and how that triggers you into something, you will continue down that line of thinking for a long, long time. Until you open up and say, everything's an opportunity. Every misstep or good step or bad step or however you want to define it, it's just this opportunity to learn more about yourself, look around, try again.
Yeah. I started the Oprah and Deepak. They have another 21 day
did
meditation.
Too.
Did you?
2 days
so
ago.
I think it was in the day one, and Deepak said something like, if you're overweight now, don't worry, it will open up the doors to the most glorious adventure you can be on. Do you know that part? Mm-hmm. And that reminds me of what you were you reminded me of that, because I think that kind of struck me, and I was like, I know that there are so many times, even when we feel like we've done the wrong thing or something is so hard, there's always something good that comes out of it, or a lesson that can be pulled from it, or there's always something to take with you to the next
It's an
step.
Experience of life. This is art. Our life is a creation all the time. So why not enjoy that creation while you're going along?
Right.
And if you really are disgruntled and you want to take this creation of yours and tear it to shreds and throw it away so no one can look at it, you're missing out on the fact of, but you made it.
Right.
You did this with what resources you had available at this moment in time. This beautiful piece of art was created in all its... Japanese has this this saying of the beauty in the cracks and the rust. And I forget... I wish I could remember the Japanese term, but it's truly... They display pieces of art that are gorgeous with a big crack down the middle. Or gorgeous painting that is destroyed on one side. Something about it, there's a flaw in it to show us that life is both. If we're going to see the beauty in everything, we have to accept that everything is part of it. Everything. And those times that we want to define as muck or not good or the worst part of the creation that choices we've made, it's still part of it.
Love it. Let's shift gears a little bit. I've been hearing a whole lot of people, maybe this is a sign to me that I need to get into this more, but I keep hearing...
Usually is.
I know, it just is like over and over again. I keep hearing about like divine femininity and embracing your feminine side, and like, I feel like I'm so far from that. I don't really know what that means. Yeah. So I know that this is one of the things that you are really passionate about. So can you kind of share what that means to you and kind of how to tap into those feminine qualities and powers? And
For sure. But I have to tell you a little story behind it. And it really started with my conversation with Karen Weber. And she's a fellow teacher at Shine. She doesn't even... I think she knows now, but she doesn't even know that she planted this seed. She posted something on Facebook, and it was just a chapter of a warrior goddess training book done by Heather Ashamara. And she said, wow, sounds like yoga to me. That's all she said. Put it out there. And it was perfect. One of those signs, like, I'm sure lots of other people read it, but for me, I picked up, read that chapter or two, and I knew. I sat in meditation, and it all came to me of, I'm supposed to be leading a group of women, this warrior goddess. And immediately, because I wasn't connecting into what you're about to ask me about the divine feminine, I pushed it into another person's camp. I said, okay, I see it, but it really can't be me. Because I'm not a warrior goddess, and I'm not this divine feminine woman, because I, like you, I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
But I had my own definition of it, of like, oh, it's not straight-laced Sandy. That is just like, I fit in this little mold, and I'm going on my merry way, kind of like unseen by a lot of people, and I'm okay with that, and everything's going along just fine. And that's usually the key that the universe is probably going to throw you.
Yeah, because things are not supposed to be comfortable, right?
That's not expansion. That's not growth. And it took another talk with Karen. I said, I'm scared. I know I'm supposed to do this, and yet I don't want to do this. And she said, that's the reason you're supposed to be doing this. So that little short bit, kudos to her, because she gave me that support that I needed. It was her divine feminine speaking to my divine feminine. It was that she didn't talk to me like a teacher or anything else than just a true, supportive, I see you, Sandy. I see the real you. What is the real me? It's not any role. It's not anything I attach to.
Yeah.
It's her heart to my heart. And then my heart recognized that and went, oh, wait a minute. Now what? Because here I am about to put this on paper that I'm going to lead people with something that I don't even know how to define yet. And there it was. I dove in the deep end of, what is this divine feminine? And suddenly, like you're saying that it's obviously something that you must have to look into now, because it's coming to you in all different areas.
Over and over.
Suddenly, all this information is coming to me all at once, and my heart resonated with every single word of it. It was talking about the juiciness of being this lunar power, not feminine in some weak sense or girly sense, although maybe for some people it is a more girly thing, because you can define it in so many ways. But it was this essence of, we have power as women that men do. They have the power too, and they have a lunar energy. We have a solar energy. They have a solar energy. It just happens to be in society that men have more of this container energy of theirs. They hold the way. I'm going to go do this job, and I'm going to do it for a long time, and this is the mold, so that our feminine Shakti energy, our playfulness, our exploration can really flow like the riverbanks. There's always this analogy of the solar energy is the river bank holding the flow of this lunar energy rushing through and all over the place. We have that inside of us. We have both, but yet, wow, when we can couple with somebody, whether it's another man, another woman, a group of women, a group of men, whatever it is, to make sure that we are helping each other have that solar container, but then explore what this lunar energy is. It's all creativity. It's all about, I'm flowing this way, and maybe sometimes I'm going to take a left turn, or maybe I'm going to go this way, but I embrace it all the time. And when it's not working, it gets washed away. There's nothing that gets stagnant. Nothing, you don't want stale water that just sits and gets buggy and ugh.
Yeah.
You want it to keep moving, and that's your divine feminine. When you attach, or you not attach, but when you connect with that divine feminine, you give yourself such grace, such freedom, acceptance, love for every bit of you. From the part of your body that you used to despise, you now see it as this, thank you for being there. This is amazing. You're something different than the rest. Whether it's a health issue that you say, oh, this isn't jiving, it makes me feel kind of off balance, or something's not right. And your divine feminine says, embrace it. It is here for a reason. It is here to show you a glorious part of yourself that you weren't willing to look at before. And so now it's here. Learn from it, love it, be with it, be present, and let yourself connect then with other people's divine feminine. And that idea of competition or struggling with relationships, particularly women and women getting together, that there's not this drive of, oh my gosh, she's doing it better than I am, or I got to do more because she's doing that, or she's got more of this than I do. Oh my gosh, she's prettier than I am. None of that. All that just disappears because you see you are part of the same. In my warrior goddess trainings, I did one last year and then one this year. It was all about reminding these women that, like that word namaste, the light in me sees the light in you. Well, the divine feminine in me sees the divine feminine in you, and we are of the same. You might be taking a different expression of it, and I applaud you for that, because I might not be able to do that expression at this moment, but you're helping the whole expand instead of staying in this contracted, limited viewpoint that I think we have been put in for so long. Right. Maybe not so much. I don't know, Becky, how old you are, but I mean, I was raised in the 70s, and it was a very male-dominant family. It took me a long time, many, many, many decades, to finally come to this embraceable fact that, oh, I have more power than I thought I did. I thought I was supposed to stay quiet. And
so do you feel like is it we are what we are and we just have to uncover it and like embrace it, or are you supposed to like change it?
Give me more. What
like you were saying like maybe one woman has certain qualities that another woman doesn't. I don't know, like, are you supposed to change? Like right now I don't feel very feminine, I guess. I don't like, growing up I was always like, I played basketball, I lived in basketball shorts. I don't really like the idea of being like more feminine, or like the idea of like sometimes surrendering, and like, I don't know, are you supposed to change it, or are you supposed to just like uncover it?
That's so cool that you said that, because you've uncovered part of that story already. So this is the way I was. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I know. And then back to the beginning part of our conversation of, you ready to take off that role? You ready to put on something different? And it doesn't mean that you're going to change drastically and suddenly be all, give me something that you wouldn't do usually. Would you not wear loud colors and
or just dress, like I don't know, the idea of like pinks and stuff, like I don't feel
pink, something
that's not a thing for me.
Perfect. So do you have to wear pink to suddenly connect with your divine feminine? No.
Yeah.
But why not play around with it to see why you're so against it?
Right.
Why there's this reaction to it. And it doesn't mean you wear pink again in your life. But wow, when you can start playing with that a little bit more. And so in Warrior Goddess training, I try to encourage them to do things out of their comfort zone, to see how that triggers them, see what comes up in those stories, the old stories. And then you can decide, okay, so can I rewrite this story a little bit? Does it have to always end this way, that I will never wear pink? Because pink represents, what does that represent to you? If you wore pink, would that mean something different about you? And that's the things you start to uncover when you're uncovering the divine feminine. And then you say, pink's just not my thing. I really just don't care for the color. However, Sandy, you're wearing pink and you're rocking it, and I love it. You can then appreciate the fact that someone else can, without this animosity or a beating up of your own characteristic of saying, why can't I do that? Why am I not comfortable with that? Those questions help lead us to the uncovering, but it's not meant to... Divine Feminine is never about beating yourself up or putting more guilt on you for not being something that somebody else might be able to express.
Yeah. So how do you see that in a relationship with your husband? It's important to have like more masculine and feminine, right? If a relationship is going to do well, or can you just make it work?
That's interesting that
whoever
right. So you automatically assume that we have to have one over the other, is what I'm hearing you say, right?
Yeah, right. Like, I mean,
we can't both come in with all our lunar and expect to have
like a thriving
but we could possibly. It just depends on what you consider thriving. So I know it works inside this household right now. I'm the only woman amongst all these men. So there is a lot of solar, or could be a lot of solar, if I play into that. What I challenge them to do is to uncover their lunar side. And at the same time, they remind me sometimes that if my solar is getting out of control and I become too controlling and manipulative, where there used to be a joke that they would always say, we want the softer mom back. Or Wayne would say, I want the softer Sandy back. I'm like, what? That to me, that was like trigger city. Softer meant weak. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But now that we don't even use that language anymore, now it's just a matter of understanding each other's nuances. You will go day by day with your husband or your friend or anybody that you have a relationship with and understand when something's out of balance and when something else needs to be brought up more. So if I'm with a girlfriend and I know that she's really wallowing in no boundaries, and there's this over watery emotion to the fact of, where's the structure? Where are you finding this structure right now? I can help support her in that way. Not that it's my job to do so. I'm willing to do so because we're coming together in a relationship that way. And vice versa. If she's coming on too fiery, I'm coming on too fiery. I lean to my girlfriends and my husband and my family to help me see that shadow side and say, what do you need? What's going on here that we can help balance it out more? So I would never want you to walk away from this interview thinking that you've got to go seek out the exact opposite of you to balance you.
Right.
Instead, try to understand it within yourself first, this solar lunar piece, and then you'll start recognizing it in whoever you're with, and then the interplay begins, and then that's the true art. That's the true creation of a relationship.
Yeah. So, like with lunar and solar, we're supposed to have both.
We do have both.
We have both. So, to embrace your feminine, does that mean
embrace both?
Embrace both. So then, why is that different than, like, if you were to tell my husband embrace your masculine, would you tell him to embrace both?
I would tell him to wait. Why would he? Would you ever tell your husband, first of all, to embrace his masculine, or are you just using that as the example?
I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah, like your divine masculine. Is that what you're saying? Like, why don't we say this to men? Embrace your divine masculine?
Well, like, if you're divine, like, I don't know, if you're going to embrace your divine feminine, I feel like then that would be, like, putting more emphasis on, like, the lunar.
Ah, okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Instead of, like, if you're emphasizing both, to me, then that's not feminine or masculine. That's just, like...
So here's why I think, again, I'm not an expert at this, but this is how I'm interpreting it right now in my journey. We've come from a very patriarchal system for so long. And I don't mean just decades. I mean centuries of heavy male dominance. Not a bad thing necessarily, but it's tipped the scales into women not understanding that it's okay to be a woman that is full of emotions, full of solar and lunar, not just stuck in the solar. This power essence of I have to pick either I'm going to be a stay-home mom or I'm going to be out in the workforce.
Yeah.
And if I'm out in the workforce and I'm dealing with men, I have to fit a certain mold in order to be accepted. That's where I feel that this is coming about, why we say to women, embrace your divine feminine, so that whether you're staying at home or you're in the workplace or a little bit of both or whatever you choose, it's okay to do both. So I'm going to go to the workplace first, because that's where I'm hearing it more in your voice and what I've gone through as well, that I would be in situations where I'm the only woman in the room and in a work environment, and I would try so hard to come across as I'm super intelligent, don't mess with me, don't try to put me as the secretary of the group because that's all you think women can do. I have great ideas and I can lead this ship. And although all that can be true, that was like my solar full-blown, like I was really hard-edged sometimes, and then trying to downplay it with this little soft edge smile or laughter or whatever, and it was sending mixed messages where the men that I was working with, I think, were completely confused of and then I'd be ticked off at them for not understanding, like, why are you pigeonholing me into this role?
Right.
And wow, that was a lot of stuff I had to uncover there. And then when I finally started owning, I do have both in me. I am intelligent and I'm super creative. I have that lunar creativity. I have that solar organizational piece in there. And I can use both, but not as a weapon against somebody or to prove something to somebody. I can just show up as my divine self and say, okay. And I see it in them then too. I can see when they're scared. I can see the vulnerabilities that come up, and not try to take advantage of them or be like, come on, man up. Let's get the show on the road and stop procrastinating so much. That's not a workable situation either. So I guess just to use that terminology of owning my divine feminine in that is not because I'm trying to be more, I'm not wearing more pink to the meetings. I am instead just being myself. And when I truly own all aspects of it, then I'm not sending those cross signals anymore.
Right.
At least I don't think I am. I find more people are resonating with me now and saying I'm easier to work with because I'm not trying to be one or the other. And then that happened in my home life. When I was my stay-home mom role that I have, instead of loading in on one or the other, the solar or the lunar, and I just showed up as me, I tell them when I need support. When I went through my biggest health crises, it took a long time for me to understand how to just say to people in my family, I need your help right now. I can't do it all. Because I was so locked into this idea that I had to be the container. When I wasn't, I didn't need to be that container at that moment. They wanted to be the container for me. They wanted to hold and support what was happening, and I wasn't allowing it. And now, when I own all parts of myself, it's so much easier to get to be like, oh, yeah, I'm overworking myself. I need to lay down.
Yeah.
I cannot do this. And they're like, don't worry, Mom, we got this. What else do you need? And like, oh, that's such a... Part of it is because everyone's getting older, but part of it is because I'm getting wiser about who this
Showing
person
who you
is.
are. Yeah. I like that. Okay. I got some wisdom now to process through. You know it's going to be rolling through my head for like the next several weeks. All right, Sandy, what do you know to be true?
I know that each one of us is 100% supported. And that we all come from love. No matter how we try to hide it and disguise it, say it isn't there. I know to be true that we are each supported and we are each made from love and meant to love. First and foremost.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on my show.
You are welcome.
I'm so excited to share this with everyone.
You are very, very welcome. I can do this anytime with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode of Gather for Wellness Radio. We'd greatly appreciate if you'd leave a review over on iTunes, Stitcher, or the blog. And don't forget to share this episode with your friends, family, and on social media. We hope you'll join us for the next episode. But until then, keep being awesome. The information provided on this podcast and on gatherforwellness.com is not intended to replace a one-on-one relationship with a qualified healthcare professional and is not intended to be taken as medical advice. Becky encourages you to make your own healthcare decisions based upon your research and in partnership with a qualified healthcare professional. The entire contents of this website and podcast are based upon the opinions of Becky Litwicki and her guests, unless otherwise noted. The information provided is for entertainment purposes only.